Welcome to the Voices of Florida House District 14, Love Thy Neighborhood, the podcast where your story matters. I'm Therese V. Wakefield-Gamble, a lifelong Jacksonville resident, educator, advocate, entrepreneur, and your 2026 candidate for Florida House District 14. This podcast is more than just conversations. It is a movement. From kitchen tables to corner stores, from neighborhood meetings to City Hall, and all the way to the Florida State Capitol. We're bringing together voices from every block, every precinct, every walk of life. From Sherwood Forest and Moncrief to Norwood and Brentwood, Lake Forest and Grand Park, Cedar Hills and Hyde Park, Arlington and Fort Caroline, Southside Estates, Ocean Way and Turtle Creek, Oakleaf, Normandy, and Crystal Springs. Your stories lead the way. And of course, we shine light on our historic districts: Springfield, Eastside, Durkeeville, San Marco, downtown near the stadium, and Merle Avenue. Communities rich with culture, struggle, and legacy. Whether you're a business owner, a teacher, a student, a faith leader, a frontline worker, or a grandma with decades of wisdom, this is your mic, your moment, and your neighborhood. So get comfortable, get inspired, and most importantly, get involved. Let's build Florida House District 14 together. Rachel Grage is a passionate advocate for everyday Floridians and a former candidate for Florida House District 16. Based in Jacksonville, she committed to keeping residents of District 16 informed on state issues that shape their daily lives, from skyrocketing insurance and housing costs to healthcare access, strong public schools, and protecting Florida's natural environment. Rachel remains actively engaged under the banner Rachel for Florida on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where she shares legislative updates, breaks down policy, and offers ways for people to get involved. With a background in science, the arts, and decades of family caregiving, she brings a grounded and compassionate perspective to civic engagement. She continues to serve as legislative liaison for the Democratic Women's Club of Florida and stay connected to her creative roots through local community theater. Rachel's mission is simple: to keep showing up, speaking out, and working towards a Florida that puts people over politics. Rachel Grage, former candidate for Florida House District 16 2024, is the voice behind Rachel for Florida on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. She's committed to keeping Jacksonville and District 16 informed and engaged on the state issues that matter most, from healthcare and housing to education and the environment. Welcome, Rachel Grage, to Love Thy Neighborhood podcast. Greetings. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Voices of Florida House District 14, Love Thy Neighborhood podcast. I am your host today, Therese V. Wakefield-Gamble, 2026 candidate for Florida House District 14. I am so super excited today to interview my great friend. We ran the race together in 2024. She ran for Florida House District 16 at Jacksonville Beach, one of my favorite places to go in Jacksonville. So everyone, let's welcome Rachel Grage to the stage. We are going to talk about how she's cutting through the noise and making sure Tallahassee works for us. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Teresa. So great to be here. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to just get the message out there and have a nice conversation with you on this beautiful Sunday morning.
Yes, ma'am. It is beautiful. I'm super excited. So let's jump right in. So, Rachel, me and you both were selected to run for office last year in 2024 out of 140 candidates in the state of Florida. I don't know how you were asked, because you was in the race a little bit longer than me. How did that opportunity come about for you?
Well, I more volunteered than was asked, to be honest. Okay. I just saw kind of a need in the community, like there was, in the previous election cycle, there was only one candidate, and she ran in a primary. There were 3 people in the primary, and then she won the primary, but there was no Democrat or independent running against her. And I thought people just need, even if there's an imbalance of Republicans and Democrats, I still feel like we had to have a voice and have some representation. So I just decided to step up, and I was not sure what I was doing by any means. But I thought I'd just see if I would get support and if I could create some momentum, and we really did. It was kind of miraculous almost, how well everything went.
That's great. That's great. I am so super excited for you. So it's kind of almost pretty much how I wind up getting in the race, but I'm gonna be honest. I just asked the question what it would take to run. I wasn't looking to run.
Yeah, that's,
2024.
yes. Yeah, I guess that's kind of also what I was doing. Like, well, what is involved in it? Can anybody do it? Because that was kind of what you learned in high school social studies, was anybody born in America could become president. So I thought, well, I could certainly be a District 16 representative in Florida. Yeah, it just kind of was a gradual progression, which I think was better for me, because if you presented the whole package to me at the beginning, I would have been maybe a little reluctant, because now knowing everything that's involved, there's a lot to it.
Yes, it is. That's why I always say, for individuals who run, you have to be a real courageous candidate, because there's a lot of unknowns.
There's a lot. Yep.
Everybody race is different. The dynamics is different. Even, with me, I got in the race like 120 days. And that was mad crazy, trying to keep up with everything, getting the endorsements, fundraising. I had to use a lot of digital tools to kind of get my name out there. And that's
Right.
another thing as a candidate. We have to make sure our name is out there.
Right.
So, Rachel, I am very proud of you for running. You did an excellent job. I was rooting for you from Jacksonville. Yes, ma'am. And I just feel like that we're candidate sisters for life, that we gonna
Definitely
be there for each other and show up when we can and promote each other when we can, because in my mind, that's how we need to elevate and lift each other up. Whether we win the seat or not, we just need to do the job as if we was already in office. So now, since your race is over and we have transitioned after the 2024 election cycle, tell me about Rachel for Florida. What is that?
Oh, thank you. Well, like you said, you create sort of this energy, and it's got to keep going, because people start to almost kind of rely on your voice, or maybe not rely on it, but look forward to it, appreciate it. And so I really felt like, what's next after the election? But I wasn't as disappointed as I thought I would be. Like, I thought I'd be much more, bummed out that I didn't win, but I just felt like I could still kind of do everything that I had already been doing in a lot of ways. Because prior to the campaign, I served as a legislative liaison to some local clubs, which means that I was, part of it was being part of a committee, a statewide committee that kind of combs through the legislation as it's coming through, and just picking out those issues or those bills that look like they're going to be most concerned to Florida as a whole. So I had already had a hand in that, and those clubs still had a need for me to do that work. And then I also, like you said, you have your online presence, you have your Facebook, your Instagram, your website, and then I had a newsletter, but I had never run it myself. And so I had a lot to learn, because I had to figure out how to do all those things, because I had help during the campaign, but then, I still had help now, but it was more like turning it over to me. Here's how you do all these things. So I was able to turn that work that I was doing just for clubs and try to broadcast it to as many people as possible. I try to just get people information about what's happening in their state legislature, because as you know, so much of what affects our daily lives really comes from the state, and we get so hyper-focused on national politics and maybe city politics, or where exactly our hyper-local governments, but it's that state level that has so much effect on us. And I just want to bring that to people's attention, whether it's for good or bad. They should have the information, they should be engaged as much as they can, as much as they want to be. So I wanted to use my platform and also the knowledge I had before running to kind of keep that momentum going. To make a short story long.
No, I love it because this is why is I feel like that piece is very important, especially for candidates that's running for office or think about running for office, because the goal of being a representative is your job performance, what you're
Right.
doing as a legislative leader. And if your job performance is not up to par and you're no longer voting or opposing or supporting bills that support your constituents, then that means you have a personal interest for that seat, not for yourself and not for the people. How
Exactly.
is important is that for a candidate to really take a deep dive into these legislative issues?
Well, we get so caught up, and if I'm understanding your question correctly, as we're running, we're so caught up in, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, the fundraising, the talking to people, meeting people. So it's
Mm-hmm.
possible that you would miss the piece of what is actually happening in the legislature, and through no fault of your own, really. But that was kind of always the piece that really interested me. Like, I really genuinely wanted to get in there and do the job, because I just find it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And people have asked me about running for other offices, and I can't honestly say that I've looked into them, but I just have so much knowledge now about the state legislature, and now some more, a little bit more about the history of it, how we got to where we are. And so it just is, yeah, just really wanted to get in there and take a crack at it and see if I could move the needle a little bit out of some of what I perceive and a lot of other people perceive is a legislature that, in a lot of ways, favors corporations, special interests, and we really want to look. I think the government, really should be there for the people, for the average, everyday Floridian, and that's what I see is lacking, and that's what another thing that really inspired me to run. We have an insurance, property insurance, car insurance crisis. We have a healthcare crisis. We have affordable housing crisis. And again, in 2025, I'm not seeing any significant pieces of legislation moving in those areas. Some little things here and there, but that's what I think our state government really could help us with.
That sounds good, Rachel. I'm glad you brought up those basic legislative issues that help support our basic essentials, because if we don't have affordable housing, that means we have more homeless people, more
Yep.
folks getting evicted. If we don't have homeowners insurance, premiums under control, people will get priced out of living in Florida and they'll be forced to move. And I enjoy and I love the fact all the stuff that you're doing, you keeping us informed. I love getting your newsletters. By the way,
Oh,
everyone, if you have not signed up for Rachel newsletter, you need to, especially her recent one talking about the 12 dirty dozen legislative bills. I love that one, Rachel. I really, really do. I've been sharing that one
oh,
because
thank you, Teresa.
yes,
You're,
it's been
yeah,
so
it's been
important.
great.
And right, even though I'm running for office, I am sharing your content because I want to let people to know these are trusted. Rachel is a trusted voice for you to hear because she's been to Tallahassee, going to legislative session week, which I want to talk about. What was that experience like going to Tallahassee during legislative week?
Well, just before this thought leaves my head, I just wanted to say, I'm glad to go do that piece. I'm glad to do that work because not everybody has to go do that. You are doing great work through digital space, and that's where you're helping out. I'm glad to go do that. I'm glad to share all the information. There's no reason for me to keep that to myself. Like, everybody should know what's going on. So I think that that's what we're kind of like honing in more and more on is how you can do what you're good at. I can do what I'm good at. And if we share all those resources, we can really hopefully start to move that needle more away from corporations, special interests to the people. And to answer your question, Tallahassee is wild. And it's like better than your best TV show,
Oh,
really.
wow.
Some of the sparks that are flying there. But yeah, I really enjoy just sitting in on session and then earlier in session, it's more committee meetings, so you can submit a speaker card and put some thoughts together if you want to advocate for or against a bill. And then now they've moved into more full session where the whole House meets and the whole Senate meets, and you can sit in on that, but you're not afforded the opportunity to speak up then. They're just kind of debating all the bills amongst themselves. I just like the energy there. I like meeting like-minded people because even if you go alone, you'll find, other people speaking about issues that align with kind of what you're thinking. So it's a lot of community there. And then it's also neat to go talk to legislators. Sometimes I make an appointment. Sometimes I just pop in and see if they can talk to me. Sometimes you get 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 minutes. But it's always kind of exciting. And it helps you sharpen your skill set too, because you have to think on your feet a little bit more. And I tend to want to have everything planned out and thought through. And sometimes you just have to like go with your heart and talk about the issues as best you understand them, because I don't think anybody understands the issues 100%, understands the bill 100%, but you kind of start to tease out the major effects in the bills and you can start to speak to that. So it's pretty exciting. Just navigating the actual building is another thing, but and it's this branch and then you can only cross over on certain floors. So it's kind of, that's funny. So if anybody ever does want to go this year, it's kind of late, but I'd love to take anybody next year who's interested in learning how to navigate all that because there's a lot to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Well, let me know. We'll put together a bus trip when
Yeah, I think we definitely should. Definitely.
yeah, we'll put
Yeah.
together a bus trip so we can take some constituents to Tallahassee so they can see
Yeah.
they
Because once
legislators at work.
Right, because once you see it in person, you get a much better sense. Like, I don't know why that is, why actually being there, you just like, okay, I see how it's going, how it's working, how it goes now. And we're fortunate that we don't have to drive all the way up from like Miami or something. It's less than 3 hours, so that makes it pretty doable. You could even do it in a day, but it's nice to maybe spend 1 or 2 nights so you can not feel so rushed. But yeah, so.
That's
Yeah, let's do a
great.
bus trip
That's
next year. I like that.
yeah, we can do a bus trip. We can tag team and start planning so we can get our constituents ready,
Yep.
so we can
Yep.
be so they can be there in the room letting the legislators know, this is what we need. This is not, how we need it. This is where we need our tax dollars to go. And
Exactly.
and that way, and I feel that's very important because we work too hard to pay taxes into a system and they're not being used right. Now, it's something you posted recently in your article. I love this one too, about this Florida scandal with the Hope Foundation
Oh
of the
my
Hopes.
goodness.
What
Yeah.
is what is that? Help us educate. What was going on with that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that, Florida citizens should know about. And sometimes these things, like they create a big splash at the beginning and then before you know it, they fade away because something else takes their place or people aren't paying attention to it anymore. I think this is something that, yeah, like I said, folks should be paying attention to. So it's a little confusing, and there are articles in like the Tampa Bay Times and Miami Herald that probably break it down a little bit better than I can. But basically, what happened was this Medicaid provider in the state of Florida. So it's like kind of farmed out to these entities that help people navigate Medicaid in Florida. And this company's called Centene. I think it's the biggest one in Florida that helps people with Medicaid. And they were overcharging the state of Florida maybe a couple of years ago, and it was by many millions of dollars. And I think primarily it was, I don't know, the pharmaceutical arm of it. Not that that's particularly important, but there was a settlement that was negotiated, and some of it just went back to the state, but a significant portion DeSantis had put into his wife's Hope Foundation, which is a faith-based um, uh, uh, nonprofit. I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right, but everybody's should check the facts in the articles, like I said. And then this faith-based organization, but it's tied in with the state because it's provides a service of helping connect people with charities instead of like using government funds to help them through whatever issues they're having with housing or healthcare, that kind of thing, which sounds okay in theory at least. But I always question when you start mixing government and religion. We've had a tradition in our country that we keep those two things separate, and I think that that's been the better way to do things. So anyway, a significant like $10 million, I think, went into this Hope Foundation, and then a portion of that went out to, and then the Attorney General Uthmeyer was involved in this, and that money went to another entity, which then again sent money over to some kind of I don't recall the name now, but like a foundation that was took the money and used it against our ballot initiatives last election cycle. Amendment 3, which was the
Marijuana.
legalizing marijuana. Yep, an amendment for
the abortion bill.
Make the abortion part of the Constitution. So money that should have gone back to Medicaid was funneled in a circuitous way, funneled into these propaganda campaigns so that we wouldn't vote for marijuana and abortion, which were people-led initiatives. And we didn't lose by much. It was just a small 2 or 3% to get that to that 60% threshold. Now, to me, the biggest, the scariest bill that's in front of the legislature now is SB 7016. And of course, I can't remember the House version, but they're pretty in line, is to make it harder for us to have a citizen-led ballot initiative, because we got really close last time. And even with those shenanigans of the propaganda against them, misinformation about these initiatives, now they're trying to make it even harder for us to get that citizen-led ballot initiative, almost impossible, really. I have some of those, what those things are that they put into the bill that make it harder on my website. But like, you have to have $1 million bond, you have to have training. If you don't, it becomes a felony. You can only collect petitions in certain ways. And that was a way for us as people to say, the government, the legislature isn't doing these things we want. Here's our workaround. And it took an enormous effort, because you had to get over 1 million petitions really to have enough, 1 million signed petitions to have enough to meet the threshold. So, it's clear, shows that they're scared, and it's really concerning. All of it is terrible, really. Right. So, and it's a perfect example of why we do need to pay attention to state government and to look at how our representatives are voting in these issues. And that's not always easy to do. They don't make it, there's not just like, how did your legislator vote.com. I mean, you've got to kind of dig around and to find this information. And that's one of the projects that I'm hoping to work on when session ends, is to maybe find a way to, at least for this session, publicize how our representatives voted on these issues, to make it pretty clear, so people can just see, oh, I didn't know,
wow, that is amazing. I am so proud of you in turning and shifting and taking your momentum, because that was one thing that I was mentioning with the Duval Democratic Party, that former candidates, whether they won their seat or not, they need to become ambassadors, because they have gathered that momentum. They have built that following to keep their constituents and supporters engaged, whether they decide to run for office again, right. But they have a voice now, and exactly. They can be able to, remind voters, okay, hey, you may want to pay attention to this issue. You may want to pay attention to that issue. Now, it's funny. I came to the Beaches Democratic Club meeting, and I came to support your presentation. And one of your supporters asked me outside, we need Rachel to run against Ron Salem. I just cracked up laughing. I said, right, that will be a for real campaign fight right there. Seriously. But which I would love to see. So look, if you ever think about doing that, let me know, because I don't like Councilman Salem, and he don't like me either.
Oh, that's a riot. Yeah. Oh, that's really funny. Yeah. Well, and I've thought about, like I was saying a little bit earlier, I've thought about it, but I just feel so much more informed about the state legislature. So that's kind of where my heart is. But who knows, times things change all the time, and we'll just have to see, if the spirit moves me in a new direction.
Well, we'll see. And, that's a good one. But also, we also can help recruit some quality candidates too.
Exactly, yes. And that's one of
So,
the reasons that I wanted to run, is just to show that an average person can do it. And
yes,
you shouldn't be intimidated because you think, I don't, any number of things. You're an American, if you're an American citizen, it's your right, it's your privilege to run for office, and you should definitely give it a shot if you think, that's something you want to do.
that sounds good. I was telling my husband because over 10 years ago, I wanted to run for city council when a whole bunch of women were running here in Jacksonville. And my husband wasn't ready yet for me to get into that political space. But I told him that was a desire of mine to do. And I waited, I watched, and during the pandemic, I got frustrated with a lot of stuff that was going on locally at the state level. And I just got tired of having these conversations with my husband. I'm like, it's time to do something. So I'm to the
Exactly.
point, okay, I'm looking for somebody else to step up and do it when I'm the one is venting about it. So that's what
Yep.
made me, okay,
Yep.
let me just get my ducks in a row. I say, and let
Exactly.
me get it together. And I just leaped out on faith because I'm a very faith believer. I said,
Yep.
okay, Lord, if it's meant for me to run, you'll send the people and the team and the resources for me to make it happen.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And to your point, you jumped in kind of late last time, but it gave you like that first taste, and now you're getting an early start, and it's really you're creating your community early. You're getting your name out there. So I really admire everything you're doing, and um,
Aw,
I think it's
appreciate
really,
you.
yeah, really, really
Yeah, I
cool.
appreciate
So,
you. My goal is it's not about me, it's about doing the work and
exactly.
doing
Exactly.
the work and making sure
Yep.
people have basic essentials. My goal is if you vote, you pay taxes, you can demand growth in your community.
Yes.
And for us to vote and pay taxes and do not get growth, that's a problem. So
Yes.
I really appreciate you for your efforts. I love those newsletters, especially the 12 Dirty Dozen. I'm working on my website
I'm
now
glad
to
that
add it.
caught on. That's
I
great.
love it. That
All how
title
you
it
market it, right?
I grab it. So I noticed that your background is science and arts and decades of family caregiving. Let's talk about family. How
Yeah.
was that for you running for office with family supporting you?
Um, it's interesting because as you were talking before, I was thinking about how I'm fortunate. I'm in a place in my life, I'm healthy. My parents are still healthy. My kids are launched. My husband's working full time. So it was almost like, well, what's your excuse to not run? Like, because everything's kind of teed up. And there are people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and they have to work 40, 50 hours a week. And I'm fortunate that I don't have to do that. So um, I thought it's kind of my duty to run for office. Like I have to step up because I've been so fortunate. Um, and so my husband, you know, I didn't know what to expect from him either. I don't think he knew what to expect from himself, but he really stepped up, and he was kind of that quiet rock, much like I find your husband to be like.
Yes.
And I think they see that in us, that we just have that burning urge to kind of do something positive and to do something for people. Um, and I think he saw the merits in it. He understood my logic, and he understood why I wanted to do it. And like you said, you could just sit around and complain about it. And he hates that. So he was glad to see me actually doing something about it. And my kids were supportive, but they're older and kind of living their own lives now. So they would come to some of the events and help me out, which was great. But it didn't affect their lives really. And I would be maybe a little nervous if they had been little kids still. But I don't know. I haven't had anything bad, like threatening or anybody, being mean or nasty. It was a great experience overall, honestly. I really enjoyed every minute of it. Other than losing. That wasn't so fun, but
No, that wasn't. And that's another thing. When I did the numbers and to see some precincts people didn't vote at all. Others I overperformed well. And it was my race was close according to what I've been told, but then I learned, Rachel, in the general election, because there was a write-in candidate for my race. A lot of people wrote my name on the ballot on November 5th. Yes, I found out it was a little over 3,000 people wrote my name in
oh,
on the
that's
ballot.
awesome. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I'm glad
I
you
didn't,
did. That's so cool. That's
I
really
didn't,
cool.
yes, I didn't know that either till different people came telling me. They said on November 5th, I wrote your name in on the ballot. I did not vote for the incumbent. I wrote your name in because you should have won that seat. I said, I know. I say, but we got next year. So that's why I didn't wait. I signed up immediately after my primary to run in
Yeah.
2026. So that way I had the time, I had the space to build the momentum.
And you're official. Yep. No,
Yes.
totally cool.
So I like the fact that you have an arts background. Tell me
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I majored in engineering in college, and but always had like a dual love. Like I love the sciences, and that's what I was hoping to bring to a position in the state legislature, because I think we're sorely lacking facts and information and science-based decision making. And I really wanted to be part of maybe bringing that back into style, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, but I've also always loved the arts, theater, literature, creative expression of any kind. So it's always been just a part of my life. I am involved in community theater, performing stage plays. I'm not such a great singer, unfortunately. Always something a talent I wished I possessed, but sadly. So I'm in Hamlet coming up at the end of May at the Island Theater down in Fleming Island. So that keeps me, it keeps things balanced, because I think it's hard when you're so focused on one thing. You need a little something else to kind of balance it out. And that's what the arts did for me, especially when the kids were little and young. It's hard, it's intense, and to have that outlet, even if it's just a couple weeks out of the year to maybe be in a play, it really made the difference. And that's another thing that I can actually apply to the state government, is cutting our arts funding. So a lot of people rely on that for their, I would even say, mental health and sanity, to just have that outlet. And It's unconscionable to cut the state arts funding. I think like happened last year, with one stroke of the pen. Because some of the art didn't agree with what the governor um, thought was appropriate. And that's what art is supposed to be. It's supposed to push our boundaries a little bit and bend the rules. I mean, not all of it does, but a little percentage of it should. And uh, it
That's
concerns
good.
me.
Yeah, that's good to know, because I have heard a couple of pastors say that Governor DeSantis is trying to be the Florida pastor, to try to regulate everyone to follow this particular mindset that he
Yes,
follows.
yes, you got exactly. Yep.
And the arts is a way to learn about our different cultures, our different upbringings. We have so many similarities. We may call it something different, but then
Yep.
once we understand what the meanings behind each of our cultural representation, we have more things in common than we do that's uncommon. So
Absolutely.
I love the fact how your science with the background with the environment. I know there is a climate change council for the state of Florida with the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida. I learned about it, and I said I was going to make sure you were tapped into that, because it's a
Yeah.
state
You've been
climate
doing
change council.
excellent work keeping that, kind of at the forefront. So I appreciate, and I thank you, because I have sadly been lacking in that area. So it's nice to know that you're taking care of it. I just feel like that was always one of the bigger issues for me, but yet I'm kind of, over here doing these other things. So thank you for taking that on and making sure it's staying at the forefront.
No, no worries because now that I'm the chapter president of the Duval Democratic Environmental Caucus, I'm bringing a lot of issues in the urban communities, especially the district
Yep.
I'm running in, like the Reebok River and the clean water, clean air, and even the soil, because the soil is not pliable in District 14 for them to grow food. So we need to start encouraging residents to start testing their soil, testing their water, so they can
Sure.
make sure it's clean and healthy so they can grow their own food. So that's some of the things that I'm working towards. And I know you're doing a lot in the legislature, but I would love to keep you tapped and informed
Yeah.
so you can be
Yep.
aware. So as you dealing with this legislative piece, we could say, hey, no, Jacksonville needs to have some more funding to deal and address this issue. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
mm-hmm.
Well, and if we remember from last summer, we heard that the governor was underhandedly trying to get pickleball courts and hotels
Yes,
and golf courses in the state parks, and somebody kind of whistle blew that
yeah,
issue, whatever the word is for that. Um,
yeah.
and people got really upset, and they came out in droves and they demanded change. And now do have a piece of legislation to that effect. I don't think it's as strong as it could be or should be, but it's something at least, and
Yes.
it just shows the power of the people. Like that's the most important message from what happened with that is people got angry, they spoke up, and it stopped him from doing that, and it also brought forth at least some sort of legislative action. So,
Yes, it sounds good. I just saw yesterday on the news how it was a protest in St. Augustine about saving the historical parks because
okay.
they were laying the staff off. It was like 20 people that was protesting. I think it
Oh,
was the Fort Matanza right there
oh
on
yeah,
St.
yeah,
Augustine.
yeah. Okay, yep, I heard about that. Yep.
They were protesting because they're getting laid off now and
Yeah,
trying to shut that down. And I mean, it's just if we get rid of our historical landmarks, how will the next generation understand how our country became to the point that it is, how many the privileges, the people that sacrificed their lives and everything.
exactly.
This is my reason for doing this podcast, to share those stories as unsung heroes and things have been done that no one has no clue about.
Yep, yep. Yeah, good for
So,
you. Great.
yes. So I just love the fact that you are involved. Now, it's some clubs and organizations you say you working with. Who are you working with your legislative affairs expertise?
Well, I've got my group from the campaign, so that was a broad group of people within the district. Those are the people that I'm still trying to get information out to, but I'm trying to broaden my reach further to maybe the people that are feeling a little lost now, like maybe some
Mhm.
promises that were made to them are being broken, and they're starting to see that. So I want to be there to help them get the right information, and see how we can move forward. But to answer your question, I got my start in St. Johns County. Actually, when we moved here, we lived there initially, and I was kind of looking for the next chapter of life because we moved from upstate New York. It was a big change. It was right before COVID, and I got a postcard in the mail. My parents were always politically active, and I never really caught the bug as much as they had it. But I've always voted and I've always been aware of the issues, but I never really was involved. So I got a postcard from the Democratic Women's Club of St. Johns County inviting me to a meeting. And I thought, yeah, why not? That sounds like maybe that would be a good organization to test the waters. And it turned out that it changed my life going to that
Wow.
meeting because those women really taught me a lot. They taught me how to canvass. They taught me how government works. They ultimately asked me to be legislative liaison. I think because no one else wanted to do it at the time, but I said I didn't know what it was, and I was like, "All right, I'll try it." And really opened up an exciting world to me. And they held my hand through it. They made sure I knew what I was doing. And then being involved in the statewide organization with the legislative liaison team that combs through all the legislation each session. And so I moved to Duval County, but kept a hand in St. Johns County, and I'm still working with them. I'm working with Jacksonville National Organization for Women as a legislative liaison for them. Um, and I've started to just distribute my findings to every club in the area, really. And, people can take what they want and distribute it, or they can not. And that's totally fine with me. But like I said, I want to broaden the net, and I want to include as many people as possible. So,
That is great. I am super excited for you. I mean, you just bloom and blossom just to hear your story, how you got involved. It's just amazing. And I am so proud to call you my candidate sister. I'm,
oh,
I'm enjoying it.
yeah, and you're an excellent podcaster. You made it so easy. I'm going to recommend it to all my friends now.
I
It's been a
appreciate it.
delight. Yeah,
Yes,
really
I
fun.
appreciate. Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. So I want to keep encouraging you as always. Anything that I can do, any issues you
Oh,
need me to highlight or elevate, I have
yes,
no
thank you.
problem of doing it. Oh, I also saw you on social media at the affordable housing event.
Yeah,
I saw the
yeah.
picture you took. Who was that group you was with the landlord registry? Tell us a little bit about that before we go.
Yeah, that's a great uh, wrap up issue. So there's a group at UNF, and some of those folks, they get mad when I call them the kids. So those young adults
Uh-huh.
helped with a campaign, and so they reached out to me when they formed a group to try to get more equity in specifically in people who rent in Jacksonville, and that's a big issue right now because of corporate landlords taking over so many so many what should be affordable housing. They've taken it over and driven up prices,
Mhm.
and not followed through with maintenance type issues in addition. So this group at UNF has studied and recognized the issue in Jacksonville specifically. So they're trying to find, and then again in the state legislature, they've preempted it, which makes it so that individual communities can't decide what's best for their community. The state just puts these broad policies out. And so Jacksonville is kind of has its hands tied for how to help people that are trying to navigate these affordability issues in their housing. This group at UNF, along with Dr. David Jaffe, who's I don't know if you know Dr. Jaffe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And he,
Yes.
the science, the brains behind it, the
Mm-hmm.
issue. And so he's got his group, Jack's Renters Union, I think it's called, and then the Jack's uh, the name's escaping me for the UNF group, what the name of it is. I could give it to you for the show notes though.
Mm-hmm.
And so these two groups were tabling at the uh,
The affordable housing.
affordable housing event yesterday, and Dr. Jeffy was on a panel talking about the broader issue with other panelists. But what the Dr. Jeffy and the UNF group are trying to do is, and they're going to be bringing this in front of the city council very soon, so people should
Mm-hmm.
show up when they can to speak for it, is a tenants registry, so that
Okay.
this is one thing that they can do that won't supersede the mandate from Tallahassee, is that they can go in and hopefully the city will create a tenant registry so they can at least have a list of all the apartment complexes or whatever rental properties, who owns them, which is often very, very difficult to find out. There's a property
Yes.
manager, but the owner could be anywhere, anyone owning any number
Exactly.
of properties. So it's going to help people be able to go in and at least see which landlords, property managers are maybe the worst, and to avoid those properties so that they can list all the issues that they've had and have it in a centralized location within the city of Jacksonville. So that's something that
I
would
love
be great
it.
for everybody to get behind and to go and talk in front of city council and say, we demand this, we want this. This is the least you can do for us, really.
Exactly. They had to put control back in the citizens. So to
Exactly.
help you clarify, it is the UNF Justice for Jack's Renters
Yes, yes, yes.
and Dr. Jaffe They were at the Jacksonville Fair Housing Expo on Saturday, and they are proposing an official landlord registry to the Jacksonville City Council.
Yes.
So therefore, we need Jacksonville residents. This is where you need to step up. You need to support. You need to follow this organization and group, or even city council meetings. That's another thing. We need to show up more at the local government meetings as well as the state.
Definitely.
So I understand you're doing a lot of legislative stuff at the state level. What my goal is eventually is to have someone similar, or even myself, if I can incorporate it in my toolkit. We need to start tracking legislation here locally, because I find that they're mirroring whatever's happening at the federal and the state level. They're trying to mirror it at the local level.
Exactly. Yes, very good point. That is so true. It's all trickling down.
Right. So, Rachel, it has been such a pleasure. Tell everyone how they can connect with you, how they can help you, how they can spread the word, or have you to come and be a speaker or present. Let them know, our listeners and viewers, how to reach you. How can they reach you?
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Probably the easiest way is rachelgrage.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there and follow me, my events and things on there. The other more real-time, like day-to-day information flow would be on Facebook, and that's Rachel for Florida on Facebook and Instagram, either of those places. And if you are interested in having me speak to your group, I would love to do that. And you could send me a note on Instagram or Facebook or through my website, but always feel free to call me too. I'm always, I'll pick up the call. I'm not averse to that, and that's my number, I believe, is on my website, and I can give it to you through Facebook message and stuff like that too. So yeah.
That sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you this is a really important piece for our community. We really appreciate you, and just your energy and beauty and personality are so great. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. As always, everybody, this is your host, Therese V. Wakefield-Gamble, your 2026 candidate for Florida House District 14. We are chopping it up, talking it up live with the former Florida House District candidate 16, Rachel Grage, in the Jacksonville Beach area. But now she is transitioning her voice for Rachel for Florida. So if you are confused about legislative bills, you want to know how to get involved, you want to understand so you can be able to educate your neighbors, because the goal for me and Rachel is for everyone to start talking to your neighbors. Start on your block. Make sure you register to vote. Make sure you're checking your voting status to make sure you're still on the roll, because last election, a lot of people was removed off the voter rolls. Make sure you signed up to vote by mail so you can vote from home and you won't have to deal with the bureaucracy of people trying to stop you or silence your vote. So you have been listening to us, and we have enjoyed you tuning in. So remember, follow Rachel Grage at rachelgrage.com. Listen to her and follow on social media, Rachel for Florida. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you.
See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Voices of Florida House District 14. Love thy neighborhood. If you felt seen, heard, or inspired, share this episode, subscribe to our podcast, and spread the word across our district and beyond. From Durkeeville to Dunn Avenue, from East Side to Edgewood, from Springfield to San Marco, and across every street near the stadium downtown. We are building power, one voice at a time. Don't forget to sign the petition to get me on the 2026 ballot, and donate $26 today to keep this campaign for the people, powered by the people. Schedule your story session, stay connected on social media, and join our volunteer team, digitally or in person, because change starts with us, right here, right now, right on your block. Until next time, love your neighbor, lift your voice, and let's fight for the future we all deserve. Paid for by Therese V. Wakefield-Gamble, Democrat for Florida House District 14. Produced by CRPC Now Media. Powered by Concierge Resource Professional Consultants, LLC.